My name is Chavi Kochar and I am a faculty at Ahmedabad. I teach in ICSI Ahmedabad chapter. Good morning, good morning. Good morning. I'm good, I'm good. Good to hear from you. I can see you all. But how are you guys? Good. I hope you are keeping safe. You are at home and good at health. Yeah. Yeah. I welcome you all to this prestigious course of CS, Company Secretary. This is a premium profession by a premium institute under the jurisdiction of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. You must be knowing that what CS is. Good morning, Shafali. Hi, Chintan. Yeah, okay. Now, can you tell me, uh, since you have joined this course, this profession, which is very premium profession, can you tell me who is a CS? What do you know about company secretaryship? What is his role in a company? And what all a company needs? What type of companies need a company secretary? Do you have any idea? Good morning, Banna. Yes, he's a legal advisor. Good. See, it has to be an interactive session, right? Okay, he's a corporate lawyer. He's an advisor. Yes, basically he's a compliance officer, right? He has to comply with all the legal and statutory requirements needed by the company. You know what a CA does? CA looks after the financial angle of the company, and a CS, he looks after the legal angle of the company, right? Yeah, he's a legal advisor. It's a very senior position in the company. Uh, he's a he's responsible for the efficient administration of the company. He ensures compliances with statutory and regulatory requirements. He's a key managerial personnel in a company. You know, it's a very senior position. So he has a place in the management of the company, which is better between. Now you, if you'll stop now, when I'll ask you, please send messages at that time. I won't be able to read each and every message. Can we stop it? Yeah. When I'll ask the question, you can write the answers. He's the presenter of the company, right? He's a legal advisor. He's a watchdog of the company. He is a major link between the shareholders and the management of the company. He is a public officer also. He deals with the public, right? So being a public officer, being a link between the company's board of directors, shareholders, government and regulatory authorities. Yeah, it's up to you. You can record it. Now, can I request you to please stop sending messages when I'll ask you the question? You can send the messages at that time. Otherwise they'll keep distracting. Yeah. Thank you. Hi everybody. I'm good. Good morning. Please stop messages. And I'll ask you, then you answer the questions, right? He ensures, company secretary, he ensures board of directors decisions are being implemented. He's basically as a compliance officer. So now my question is, being a CS, since he is a public officer, where is the need of having the knowledge of current affairs? Since I have been taking up this subject of yours, current affairs and communication as well. So where do you find the need? Why do you need to have knowledge of current affairs? Now start answering. Why do you need to have knowledge of current affairs? Why do you think it is necessary for today's time. Yeah, general knowledge. Good. Stay updated. Yes. Right. Yes. Good. Good. Okay. Current affairs. It is something that really helps you to grow at personal as well as professional front. Right. It helps to grow your confidence level. It shows your general intelligence. It is the nowadays it is the eligibility criteria adopted by the job sector, right? To get awareness about various unknown facts and aspects of the society. This brings forth false and fake information which encourages negative sentiments in the society. It's a good habit, right? It's a good habit, and it stirs imagination. It stirs imagination. Yeah, it is important for us. I'm not visible. Am I not visible? Yes, visible. Some are saying visible, some are saying not visible. No. Okay, can you hear me? If I'm not visible, I'm visible to some. To some, I'm not visible. Am I audible to you all? There may be some network quality, poor network quality due to which I'm not visible. Am I audible to all? Okay, you just pay the attention. Since we have to take up communication part also, in which listening is very important. So it's a blessing in disguise. You guys listen to me very carefully. Ask you the questions after that, right? Yeah. So having knowledge of current affairs, it's a good habit. It stimulates imagination. It helps in debates, discussions, writing articles also. Am I now visible?
Whole planet.
Am I now visible?
No.
Voice is clear. Voice is not clear. Can't hear me. I don't know what is happening. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay, okay. Have patience, have patience. There's some poor network quality. Have patience. Patience is the biggest virtue. Okay. Voice is echoing. Yeah, because we have been trying on mobile also. That's why. Wait, wait, wait. Yes. Is the voice echoing now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay. Shall we start? Shall we start the class now? Okay. If some guys, some of you are not able to see me, then maybe there is a problem, network problem with you. Is it fine now? Can you see me? It's okay? Okay. Shall we start? So where were we? I was asking you, why do we need to have the knowledge of current affairs? To write an exam, okay. Get adapted, okay. To get connected, yeah, good. See, world is becoming, it has become very, very small, right? Being a CS, being a public officer, you need to know the external environment which keeps changing. You must have read in your business administration and business studies in class 12 that there is a external environment also, and it keeps changing, and it definitely 100% affects the organization, any organization. So you need to know what is happening outside around yourself, around you, what is going on uh, around the world, so that you are updated, right? And you can, being a compliance officer, CS being a compliance officer, CS being a compliance officer, he has to know and he must be aware what is going on around him so that he can implement the changes in the organization. That is his job, right? Okay, backlight को बंद करें. There's so many demands. Wait. हाँ जी. Is it fine now? If you'll keep on demanding, do this, do that, we won't be able to proceed with the class. Okay, please adjust. I too have to read the material, so I need the light. Try to understand that. Since this is the first class, we'll adjust in the next class also. Okay, right? Yes. The whole business environment, it affects the environment of the company too. CS being a very, very sensitive position, he has to be aware of his surroundings, right? He is a compliance officer, and the world has become very small. We have become global. Now we have to work at global level. So awareness about international rules and happenings must be known by all, right? So this is where you need to have the knowledge of current affairs, and that is our topic. Do everybody has that soft copy of the current affairs, the material provided by the institute? Do you have that? You have that, right? Good, that's nice. So we have to start studying the international and national affairs, lesson 1. Under this subject, current affairs, we'll be covering international, national affairs, financial affairs, political affairs, legal and other affairs. What are these? These are all the external environment, right? This all is external environment, and you have to be aware what is going on around you, what is going on in the world, so that you can implement the changes in the environment in your organization. And for an organization to run smoothly for its survival and growth, it is necessary to adapt all the changes which are happening in the external environment. These could be changes like technological changes, political changes, economic changes, customer taste changes. There's 6 or 7 types of changes. Okay. Shall we start? We'll start with IMF. These are the international bodies. IMF, have you heard about this? IMF, do you know, have you ever heard IMF, International Monetary Fund? Yeah. Good, if you have heard about it. See, like RBI in India, it looks about, it takes care of the financials and monetary system in the country, in India. Similarly, for the whole world, there is a body that is called IMF, International Monetary Fund, which looks after the financial or monetary system and financial stability of the countries who are its members. Now, please start reading. I'm reading the important points. You can mark it. The International IMF, International Monetary Fund. Now, the questions which can be asked. If you have the material, if you don't have the material, please ask the institute. You will get the soft copy. I will answer your questions after the lecture. Can we start? I'll answer your questions after the lecture, please. IMF, it's an International Monetary Fund. It's an organization of 189 countries. What are their objectives? They work to foster global monetary cooperation. Foster means grow. They work about the growth of global monetary cooperation. They secure financial stability, right? Financial stability of the country. It facilitates international trade. Facilitates means it helps in doing international trade. It promotes high employment and sustainable economic growth. They provide high employment. They look after the employment part of the countries. They look after the sustainable economic growth, sustainable means where the point at which you can sustain, the country can sustain itself, and it helps in reducing poverty around the world. You can mark it if you have the soft copies. It's good. If you don't have, please ask the institute, they'll provide you, don't worry about that. The additional points which I'll be telling you, you can ignore, you can write it in your notebook. It was created in 1945 and the date was 27 December. It is governed by and accountable to 189 countries that make up its near global membership. Its members are 189 countries. Its primary purpose is to ensure the stability of international monetary system. Stable. It ensures the stability of international monetary. It ensures stability of monetary system of a country. That is by system of exchange rates. By the system of exchange rate means it looks after the exchange rate, whether it should not go very high, it should not go very low. And international payments that enables countries and their citizens to transact with each other. They look after the system of exchange rates. And international payments means the payment done by one country to another. It looks after that also, whether payments are being made on time or not. If they're not in a position to pay, then helps to pay them. The funds, these are the main objectives. Now, is India a member of IMF? Yes, it is a founder member of IMF. Since 93, can I have your questions or queries after the lecture, please? Otherwise, we won't be able to proceed. IMF is International Monetary Fund. The full form is International Monetary Fund. It's like RBI in our country. RBI in our country looks after the monetary system, the financial system of the country. Similarly, IMF looks after the world's countries, the total countries in the world, and their monetary system, their financial stability. It helps in doing international trade. It reduces poverty around the world. This is the purpose of IMF. Is India, now the question is India a member of IMF? Yes, India is a founder member of IMF. You can write down in your notebooks the additional information which I am giving you. India is a founder member of IMF. Since 1993, it has not taken any form of financial assistance from IMF. The fast facts about IMF are: how many countries are the members of IMF? It is 189 countries. Where are the headquarters? It is in US, Washington, DC. In its executive board, there are 24 directors, each representing a single country or group of countries. You can write the name of MD, the managing director of IMF. It is not written here. That is Kristalina Georgieva. Managing director कौन है? Who is the MD of IMF? It's Kristalina Georgieva. Kristalina Kristalina Georgieva. Georgieva. Now, who are the largest borrowers? Since it lends money, Yes. Kristalina Georgieva, she is the MD. The largest borrowers, since IMF lends money to the poor countries, the largest borrowers are Argentina, Ukraine, Greece, and Egypt. And the largest precautionary loans it has given to Mexico, Colombia, and Morocco. The other. Now, what are the precautionary loans? These are the loans or financing to meet actual balance of payment need of countries to help in crisis. Precautionary loans. What are the precautionary loans? They are the financial help to meet balance of payment need of countries to help in crisis, like the crisis which is going on presently, the COVID-19. In such type of crisis or other crisis, they give precautionary loans to countries, and the biggest takers of these loans are Mexico, Colombia, and Morocco. Now again, the primary aim of IMF, already we have done it, or it is written above also, that is to promote international monetary cooperation. It helps in expansion and balanced growth of international trade. It helps in doing international trade by one country with another. It promotes exchange stability. What is exchange stability? It was established in 1945, 27 December 1945. It promotes exchange stability. What is exchange stability? Like the exchange rates, it should not go very high or it should not go very low. It keeps a balance in that exchange rate. Like exchange rate, you all understand that $1 is for 70 rupees, £1 is for 90 rupees. So these such type of exchange rates of all the countries, they should not go very high, they should not go very low. So to keep a balance in exchange rate, it assists in the establishment of multilateral system of payment. Multilateral means many types of payments. It makes resources available to members experiencing balance of payment difficulties. IMF helps the member countries, in balance of payment difficulties. Now, what is balance of payment? Balance of payment is the record of all economic transactions. If you want to write, you can write the additional information. What is BOP or balance of payment? It is the record of all economic transactions between the residents of a country and rest of the world. If you guys don't have the study material, please ask ICSI to provide you with the material, right? Now, how does IMF get the funds? How does IMF get the funds? It has its sources of funds are, you can write down, its sources of funds. Yes, countries, those who are the developed countries, they contribute funds with IMF. IMF's sources of funds are through quotas and through loans. Now, what are the quotas? Those are those who are the members. They pool the funds, like the developed countries, US, China, they are the developed countries. They pool the funds with IMF, and it takes loans also, lending of money. Yes, the study material is enough, and the additional information we will try to give you as much as possible, and we'll tell you from where to read for additional information and how to read. Don't worry about that. IMF's sources of funds. How does IMF get the funds to help other countries? They get funds from quotas. Quotas means the members, they pool the funds. Yeah, sources of funds through quotas, QUOTAS, quota, and loans. Through quotas, how through quota? There are 189 members of IMF, right? And they pool the funds. जितनी भी हमारी developed nations है like US, China, Russia, they pool the funds, they give the money, that is the source of funds of IMF. They pool the funds and IMF further helps the poor countries with the money. Sources of funds are loans and quotas. Loans means they lending of money. They lend the money. Okay. Shall I proceed? Okay. If you have any queries, if you have any problem, you can ask after the class. I'll answer you all, don't worry. I am reading from the material only which has been provided by the institute. I request you all who don't have the material, please ask the institute. Call up at ICSI headquarters, Delhi or Noida, wherever it is, to provide you with the study material. You will get the soft copy. Don't worry. I have done with IMF. Those who have the material, they can see it. Now IMF in news. IMF was in news. They gave the economic recovery for India in 2021. If you will stop sending messages now, we can proceed. Please listen to me carefully. You will get everything, don't worry. Quotas means donations, yeah, sort of donations. They give the donations to IMF. Now IMF in news. See, what you have to basically you have to pay attention to the establishment dates of such bodies. जितनी भी ये financial bodies हैं, उनकी establishment कब हुई थी, when they came into existence. और 2019 में इनका क्या जो मेजर अपडेट था वही आपको यहाँ पे चेक करना है और वही स्टडी मटेरियल में दिया हुआ है. Okay? Whatever is there written in the study material, that is enough. Don't worry. 2019 events of these bodies, they are important to know and understand, and the meetings or summits to be happened in 2020-21 in future. These dates are important. Since now in the next page it is given economic recovery for India in 2021 by IMF. In 2019, IMF said that India's growth has been cut sharply. There is a sharp cut in India's growth, and they projected a recovery in 2021, right? From 4.8% to 5.8% in 2021. They will recover, they said, but This is the statement given in 2019. Since after COVID-19, the scenario has totally changed. So all the figures would also change. You just have to, what you have to do, you just go through these, the details of these bodies. IMF, what is IMF? What is ASEAN or SAARC or G7? And check with Google what after COVID-19, IMF after COVID-19, right? So you will get the major points. You just look at the bullet points, what major changes they have given for the countries, their estimations, their projections, right? So the projections they gave in 2019 for 2020 or 21, they would change drastically. So these figures won't be applicable to you. I have done with IMF. Now, IMF, as we said, they help in financial stability of the countries. They remove the poverty. They provide the employment. Now, how many countries, since they provide financial stability, they look after that countries have sustainable economic growth. Sustainable economic growth means the point of growth at उस वो पॉइंट जहां पर वो सस्टेन कर सकती हैं कंट्रीज अपने आप को, जहां वो जिस पॉइंट पर सर्वाइव कर सकती हैं. Okay, some says talk in Hindi, some says talk in English. Okay, it's a since we read the purpose of the objectives of IMF, it is to provide financial stability. Okay, fine. They provide financial stability. They look after the monetary system. They make ensure that they have sustainable economic growth. So after COVID-19, the poor countries who have requested IMF for the financial help, they are around 190, 90 or 102 countries who have provided, who have given the application for financial assistance. Now the figures they have given in the study material for 2021, they won't be applicable for you. So you have to see, you have to go to the Google and check for IMF after COVID-19. Just write this and you will get the information, right? Thank you. The next international body we are taking, that is ASEAN. Have you ever heard of it? The Association of Southeast Asian Nations. That is ASEAN, ASEAN. Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So the nations which fall in the region of Southeast, it is a group of those countries. It is a group of those countries. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, it is called ASEAN. ASEAN. It was established on 8th August 1967 in Bangkok, Thailand. So the date of establishment is important for you. When did it come into existence, this body? Right? And in which country? That is important for you, since there will be the MCQs. So these dates are important for you. Okay. It was established on 8th August 1967 in Bangkok, Thailand, with the signing of ASEAN Declaration, Bangkok Declaration by the founding countries of ASEAN. Initially, there were 5 countries when ASEAN started. It was Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. There were initially 5 countries. After that, 5 more joined them. I'll answer your questions after the session, please. Otherwise, we won't be able to proceed. ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations. It was established on 8th of August 1967 in Bangkok, Thailand. Initially, there were 5 countries. The current members of group include Indonesia, 5 more added after that. Now the current members are Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Brunei, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam. Now this is a group of 10 member states of ASEAN. Its headquarters, you can write down headquarters, that is in Jakarta, Indonesia. Jakarta, yeah. Now the aim and the purpose. See, any number of bodies will study, international or national. More or less, their objectives are same. These are Southeast nations. When some countries meet, right, and they decide on something, what will be the agenda? You can understand. It's very simple. They will talk about only their economic growth, their social progress, and cultural development. This would be the agenda of all type of. Yes, they'll talk about growth only, mutual growth, right? So the aim and purpose of ASEAN, that is to accelerate the economic growth, social progress, cultural development in the region through joint endeavors in the spirit of equality and partnership. Yes, political relation too. Yeah, right. In order to strengthen the foundation for a prosperous and peaceful community of Southeast Asian nations. Since I have told you, whenever such type of you know these groups will meet, states will or countries will come together to make a group. The common purpose would be just the economic growth, social progress, cultural development, and the trade between the countries. That will be the only agenda between them. For ASEAN also, it is the purpose is to accelerate economic growth of all these countries, social progress, cultural development, regional peace and harmony should be maintained in the region. If you have the material, you can read. You can give a quick look to promote active collaboration, mutual assistance on matters of common interest in the economic, social, cultural, technical, scientific, administrative fields. Then they'll work in the area of research and development, in the area of education, to promote Southeast Asian studies, right? Yes, definitely tourism is definitely a part of the agenda. Can I have your questions after the session, please? Are you getting what I'm telling you? you getting? The important points for you are the establishment dates of such bodies, if you will stop sending messages, I can proceed. I can take up your questions after the session, please. Thank you. Yeah. So ASEAN, the date of establishment, when did it come into existence, who all are the member countries, and what was their purpose? What is their head office? Where is their head office? They are the main important points for you. Now for ASEAN member states, there are 10 states which are the members of this ASEAN group. And out of these 5 largest Asian economies in SubMe, out of these 10, which are the 5 largest Asian economies, you can write down. First is Malaysia. Number 1, Malaysia. Number 2, Thailand. Yes, head office is in Jakarta. 5 largest Asian economies. If you have the study material, you must be seeing the picture given, Asian member states. Now the 5 largest Asian economies are, number 1 is Malaysia, number 2 Thailand, number 3 Indonesia, number 4 Philippines, number 5 Vietnam. Okay, and the most competitive country is Singapore. You can write down most competitive economy or country is Singapore, and 5 largest Asian economies out of these 10, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam. Now, next is Asian in news. If you have the study material, you can see Asian in news. Why was and for what it was in news? The 35th summit of ASEAN and the related summits were held in Bangkok, Thailand from 1st of November to 4th November 2019. Now the dates, the events or the happenings which took place in 2019, they are important. It was the 35th Asian Summit which took place in Bangkok in November 2019. Right? And the theme of the summit was the topic was advancing partnership for sustainability. Advancing partnership for sustainability. That was the theme of 35th Asian Summit. So you have to write bullet points at the side of the paragraph. That would be a smart study for you. You don't have to go through each and every line. Just take out the important dates and the objective or the theme of the summit. That is important for you. The next Asian Summit, it will be conducted in Vietnam in 2020. But now 2020-21, they are suffering for COVID-19. So it will happen or not, it will depend on the situation, right? Similarly, now the question is India a part of ASEAN? India is not. You can write down, India is not a part of ASEAN since it's Southeast Asia. We don't fall in that region. But India, it became a dialogue partner in 1992. India became a dialogue partner with ASEAN in 1992. So this is called ASEAN Plus One organization. ASEAN, ASEAN Plus One organization. It includes Asian countries plus India for economic cooperation. India is not a member, right? But it became a dialogue partner, sectoral dialogue partner with ASEAN in 1992. Now there is ASEAN plus one organization which includes Asian countries and India added for economic cooperation. Okay. Now next is Indo-Asian Summit 2019. Hello. Indo-Asian Summit 2019. The 16th India-Asian Summit was held on 3rd November 2019. You have to just what happened in 2019. What number was at the 16th Asian Summit? You have to remember this 16th Asian Summit held on 3rd November 2019 in Bangkok. Right? So 2019 dates are important for you. When did it happen in 2019 and the date of establishment, when they came into existence? The highlights of the summit was Sri Narendra Modi, Honorable Prime Minister of India, expressed his commitment to further strengthen the partnership through stronger surface, maritime and air connectivity and digital links. So, India being a dialogue partner, Sri Narendra Modi in this summit, he expressed his commitment to further strengthen the partnership through stronger surface, maritime and air connectivity and digital link. You know how much Mr. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, he has been giving the importance to digital India to become a digital India. He has been giving importance to India to become digital. Now also he has told his cabinet ministers to do paperless work. No paper. Everything digital. He has asked his cabinet minister to stop using papers. India welcomed the recent decision to review ASEAN-India FTA. Now, what is FTA? It's Free Trade Area. If you want to write, India welcomed the recent decision to review the ASEAN-India FTA. FTA is Free Trade Area. Free Trade Area is where you support local manufacturing. That is Free Trade Area. India expressed its desire to strengthen partnership in the areas of maritime security. What is maritime security? Maritime security is can you hear me? Okay. Maritime security, then blue economy. What is blue economy? Blue economy is use of ocean resources for economic growth. That is called blue economy. India expressed its desire to strengthen partnership in the areas of maritime security. Maritime security is the stopping or prevention of international damage through terrorism. That is maritime security. Then blue economy. Blue economy is use of ocean resources for economic growth. And humanitarian aid. What is humanitarian aid? Aid is the help. What is humanitarian? It's material and logistic help to those who need the help. It's the material and logistic help, humanitarian, right? Yes. Both sides agreed to continue the implementation of Delhi Declaration as the outcome of ASEAN-India Commemorate Summit to mark 25th anniversary of ASEAN-India Dialogue Relations in January 2018. Okay, what is important for you is what happened in Indo-ASEAN Summit 2019. It was held on 3rd November 2019 in Bangkok, Thailand, and Sri Narendra Modi, he expressed his commitment to further strengthen a partnership through stronger surface, maritime, air connectivity, digital link. These are the important dates which you have to remember for your MCQs in the exam. Next is 5th Asian Youth Video Contest. What did you miss? What did you miss? If you have the study material, you will not miss anything. I'm going very slow with you guys. Humanitarian aid. Yeah, humanitarian aid, as I told you, it is the material and logistic help. Blue economy is use of ocean resources for economic growth. Maritime security is the prevention of international damage through terrorism. हो गया? Is that clear? Maritime security, again I'm telling you, it is the prevention of international damage through terrorism. Blue economy is use of ocean resources for economic growth. Humanitarian aid is material and logistic help. Okay, shall we proceed? Delhi Declaration means the declaration or the commitments or the agreements done in during that summit which was held in Delhi. So that is called wherever it will be held, wherever the summit will be conducted or held, and the declaration or the agreements would be made, that would be called Delhi Declaration or Thailand Declaration or Bangkok Declaration. Wherever the meeting will be held and some agreements would be made, that is called Delhi Declaration और Bangkok Declaration. जहां भी होगा ये summit, वहां पर जो agreements होंगे, जो भी decisions होंगे, उनको वो declaration उस जगह का बोला जाएगा. It's 5th Asian Youth Video Contest. Next is 5th Asian Youth Video Contest. There was a contest, the awarding ceremony of 5th Asian Youth Video Contest was held on July 19, 2019. Now you have to remember the date of 5th Asian Youth Video Contest. It was held on July 19, 2019 in Vietnam, Lao PDR, at the gala dinner of 11th Asian Ministerial Meet on Youth. Where was it held? 5th Asian Youth Video Contest was held on July 19, 2019 in Vietnam, Lao PDR, at the gala dinner of 11th Asian Ministerial Meet on Youth. Now, what is this youth video contest? You can write if you want. It was a platform given to youth for creatively speaking their voice using power of digital tools. What was this youth video contest? What was it about? It was a platform given to youth to creatively speak their voice using power of digital tools. Now there were 3 winners. Their names have been given. If you have the material, you can mark this. There was one from Indonesia, one from Singapore, one from Lao PDR. They were awarded first, second, and third winners respectively. You have to remember these names. I have told you many times, if you don't have the material, please contact ICSI headquarters. They'll provide you with the material. Don't worry about that. Now the next body we are taking, that is BRICS, international body. BRICS, if you have heard the name, BRICS, there are 5 countries. B for Brazil, R for Russia, I for India, C for China, S for South Africa. BRICS countries, आपने नाम सुना, you must have heard the name of BRICS. B for Brazil, R for Russia, I for India, C for China, S for Singapore. BRICS is an informal group of states comprising the Republic of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. When did it come into existence? You have to check the date. And why and how it came into existence. No, I didn't say Singapore, I said South Africa. BRICS is B for Brazil, R for Russia, I for India, C for China, and S for South Africa. They are the member countries of BRICS. It's an informal group of states. How did it come into existence and why? Maybe I said Singapore by mistake. I'm so sorry for that. There was an economist, Jim O'Neill, J-I-M-O, Neil, N-E-I-L. There was an economist from Brazil, Jim O'Neill. He gave the idea. In 2001, he said that these countries are the largest emerging market economies. Jim O'Neill, he gave the idea. He was an economist. In 2001, he said that these would emerge. These are the largest emerging market economies. Who? These countries. World. Jim O'Neill, he said these are the largest emerging market economies and they will grow faster than developed countries and play an important role in the world. Again, the objective, as I told you, more or less objectives of all these bodies are same, that they have come together for the economic growth, for their cultural values, for the studies, right? Now on 20th September 2006, the first BRICS ministerial meeting was held at the proposal of Russian President Vladimir Putin on the margins of a UN General Assembly session in New York. headquarter of BRICS is in Shanghai, China. You can write down. Now in 2016, India became the head of association. In 2016, India became the head of the association. You can come down in the next paragraph. The BRICS presidency now was transferred to China. Every year, one country or the other takes the chair of president. In 2016, India became the head of association. Now it has been transferred to China. The head office of BRICS is in Shanghai, China. So you have to remember the dates which have been given in the material. 2019 are important dates. When it got established, that is an important date. What is the objective? Objective, I have told you, more or less all these international organizations or bodies, they have the same, more or less same objectives. It is their mutual growth only. Now BRICS in news. 11th BRICS Summit. The 11th BRICS Summit was organized in Brazil in 2019. The theme of summit was economic growth for an innovative future. See, the summit, the objective or the theme, economic growth for innovative future. So whenever these states or the countries meet, they make a group. Either it is a regional group or world over. The objective are more or less same. That is the economic growth. With the economic growth, all type of growth will happen. No? Economic growth is the most important growth. When you are growing economically, you are growing personally also. India's highlights at the summit. Intra-BRICS trade accounts for just 15% of world trade. It needs to be increased. India invited business leaders of the member nations for investment, particularly in infrastructure development. Intra-BRICS trade. Intra-BRICS means the trade between these 5 countries. That accounts for just 15% of the world trade. And it needs to be increased. So, India invited business leaders of the member nations for more investment, particularly in infrastructure development. Second is, India proposed to hold the first meeting of BRICS water ministers in India. Next is, India highlighted the menace of terrorism, which has resulted in the loss of $1 trillion to the world economy. After Mr. Modi has taken the chair in 2014, India's main the agenda with the world is to work upon terrorism. Next, the last I would be taking is, since we have to finish on time, India R7 deal with Russia. Now, what is this R7? India has signed a deal worth 1,500 crores to buy R7 air-to-air missile from Russia. You must have noticed that after Mr. Modi has taken the chair, our investment in towards defense, it has increased. We are buying weapons, we are buying fighter jets also at a very large scale, if you have noticed this. Yes, it's a air-to-air missile from Russia. The objective of this deal is to boost the capability of Indian Air Force in beyond visual targets. Beyond visual targets means our R-27 air-to-air missile will be equipped on Su-3B MKI fighter jets. It will be equipped on these fighter jets. It's a medium-range air-to-air missile which was initially developed for MiG and Sukhoi fighter jets. Russia developed these missiles to add the capability of Sukhoi and MiG warfare aircraft. Indian Air Force has signed 7,600 crore deals in the past 2 months. These deals have done to acquire type of equipment under emergency requirements. So it's an air-to-air missile. R-27 is an air-to-air missile which will be equipped in the fighter jets like MiG and Sukhoi. They have been bought from Russia. We have invested 1,500 crores to buy this. Now we have signed 7,600 crore agreement or deal in the past 2 months. These R-7 it is an air-to-air guided missile. Russian firm, these two firms, they have manufactured the missiles. Russian Air Force deployed these missiles in 1990 on its 4th generation fighter jets. Yes, the actual design of R-27, it was started in 1962 and its production started in 1986. More than 25 countries are taking this service. R-27 missile can destroy air targets even in adverse weather conditions. That is why it is called beyond visual targets, because it can destroy air targets even in adverse weather conditions. जहां आप देख भी नहीं सकते हैं उसके beyond भी, जितना आप देख सकते हैं उसके beyond जाकर ये उसको hit करता है. Length of the missile is 4 meters. Body diameter is 0.3. You have to remember these things. Weight of the missile is 253 kilograms. It has a range of 72 kilometers, while it can engage targets within the range of 110 kilometers. You have to remember these, that India invested this R-27 missile. It's air-to-air missile for MiG and Sukhoi fighter jet. They are equipped in MiG and Sukhoi fighter jets. We bought it from Russia, and how much we invested, the amount you have to remember. And what is the purpose of R-27 missile? You can destroy the air targets even in adverse weather conditions beyond visual targets. So I'm ending my first lecture here. If you had any problem, please write to me, and please try to get your study material from the institute. That will be very nice, and it will be easier for you to understand what I am saying. Thank you so much. It was